Absolutely do. Glenn, what is it that gave the fugue such a major role in Bach's creative life? And what is it with that matter that keeps it going, or kept it going, to the point that one gets polytonal fugues, atonal fugues, 12-tone fugues, and even fugues at the end of symphonies for most romantic composers?
Sure. Great choruses.
I mean, what is it that accounts for that continuing fascination for the fugue?
Well, I suppose there are many reasons, really. I think perhaps there is one that is predominant and that is really very difficult to define. I think it has something to do with a very special need that certain types of artists exhibit, the need to prove that what they do is valid, that it's not achieved by random selection, that every moment flows logically from the moment before to the moment after. It's not confined to musicians, that need, but maybe because music itself is so unprovable, so improbable, one might almost say, musicians somehow seem to exhibit it more prominently than some other types of artists. It's very difficult at times with certain kinds of music particularly to say why something strikes one as appropriate or inappropriate. You and I have often argued about middle period Beethoven, and I do not intend to reopen that argument again.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear that.
No, I wouldn't dream of that. I've given that up as a lost cause. I don't really ever expect to persuade you of the pomposity of the Fifth Symphony or the banality of the violin concerto or the empty rhetoric of the Appassionata. So no, I would not be reopening that argument, as I say. And in fact, when you come right down to it, there is no way to argue it, as I think we've found from frustrating past experience. I mean, I can say to you, this is a tiresome idea.
I would say to you right away, I mean, in the context, this is a marvelous idea.
In the context, you see, you would have to say that. I'm sure you would. But notwithstanding our argument, Beethoven, as we all know, had a very special temperament. Because in those middle years, when he wrote that junk, he had absolute confidence that what he did was valid, just because he did it. It's a great gift. I'm not arguing against intuitional creativity or anything like that there. I'm simply saying that most composers don't have that gift. They don't have that audacity. They don't have the nerve to try and get away with something as silly as that, really. They can't talk themselves into it, much less expect that the listener is going to accept what they do is by a leap of faith or something, Most composers are just much more fragile than was Beethoven. I mean, why do you think Richard Strauss wrote all those incredible tone poems of his in which every thematic idea, every modulation had to be accounted for by a literary parallel of some kind? I think he did it. I think he erected all those programmatic scaffolds to convince himself, really, that everything he did had an architectural reason, that there was nothing that was improvisatory in terms of the structure, that everything belonged. And he did it so well as you can take down those scaffoldings, you can play Till Eulenspiegel for a child who's never even heard the term program music and get a very positive and purely musical reaction, which is the way it should be. Well, I think in a funny way, contrapuntal forms, fugues and canons and so on are like that. Either a canon works or it does not work. Either it fulfills the particular thou shalts and thou shalt nots of the canon form, or it doesn't do that. And in the same way, the fugue is a process which is about process, really. It concentrates on process, and one is not likely in a fugue to be seduced by the momentary attraction or distraction of a particular idea. I mean, you can say to me, I think that the ninth fugue from the Art of Fugue is a rather intrusive and virtuosic subject. And if you did say that, I really wouldn't disagree with you, to tell you the truth. But I would say to you, well, no matter, it works. It works as a subject in its own exposition, and it works as a counter theme. It mates perfectly well with the main theme of the Art of Fugue. So, in a way that we will never be able to find agreement about the second theme of Beethoven's Emperor Concerto, we could say, well, okay, it's a theme of no distinction whatsoever, but it does have an ongoing relationship with the totality of this particular structure, with the totality of the Art of Fugue,